Trucking, got my chips cashed in. Keep trucking, like the Doodah Man. Together, more or less in line. Just keep trucking on.
All right, so it's Thursday. It's Thursday, and you're here because I told you I'd be here, right? Of course. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about what we got going on here on the Good View Quarter, we'll call it. Back when we were in Vermont, lived on a road called Buena Vista, and it was about a quarter of an acre. And we had some rabbits, and to tattoo those rabbits and do a little bit of pedigree work with them, we had a name, and it became the Good View Quarter, so that is what I will refer to this place as. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we got going on here. And hopefully this will be a last Thursday of every month kind of thing. Libsyn provides me with so much space, and I don't always use that space. So I'm going to use it by doing this. And maybe, just maybe, I will do more of these updates if the space provides, or if enough people want me to do this, I can do this more often. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to start on the sort of homestead side of things. I grew up gardening, grew up outdoors, so this was all something that kind of wasn't necessarily natural to me, but something that I wanted to do, something I wanted a part of. Back in high school, when you take those tests that tell you what you should do with your life, what career path you should take, I got farmer. Now, I think I kind of skewed those results a little bit because you can, and I wanted to just for kicks, and because you do that when you're in high school. So whether or not that was what I was supposed to do, who knows? But here I am, attempting something of that sort. For the last couple of years, we've had a garden. Down here in Georgia, you can pretty much do a garden year-round. Summer months get kind of difficult. There's not much that likes to grow when it's 100 degrees and sunny. And, you walk outside to go do some weeding or go pick some vegetables. And let me tell you, at 2 p.m, when you're walking around barefoot in the dirt, in the sand, it burns your feet. And my feet are pretty darn tough. So something to consider. But, in the winter, you got all your brassicas and your cold crops that you can put in. And sometimes you get stuff from them in the fall. More often than not, they overwinter fairly well into the spring. So when spring comes around, you got stuff popping up. As you probably know from some of my other shows, I grew up in New York, and we have family in New York. My wife's from New York as well. And so in the summer, when it is blazing hot down here, we like to visit family. It's a little bit cooler. It's a little bit nicer, and it's good for the kids, to really, family's something that's important to us, and want them to build those relationships with their grandparents and with their aunts and their uncles and their cousins. So we try to do that. Unfortunately, that means that the garden goes untended for about 2 weeks. Last year, the garden, it did all right. It came through. We got some rain while we were gone, and things worked. This year, not so much. It's been hot. It's been dry. My son was doing some research for a homeschool project, and the area we are in gets some of the most extreme temperatures in Georgia. So it's hot in summer, and it gets fairly cold in the winter. Not fairly cold, but cooler. And this year was no joke. It hit 100 degrees the other day. So, it's fall, and it was 100 degrees. So, the garden is ready to go. We're ready to start putting things in, but, there's not a whole lot we can really plant right now. We can plant some things. We get some things in, but, we buy our broccoli and our cabbage. We get little bundles. You get a bundle of 50 cabbage for like $5.50. It beats buying seeds and having a fight with the little tiny brassica seeds. So we do that, and the guy that we get them from doesn't even have them in stock because it's just too hot. So we'll have that going soon. We have got a couple goats. We bought some goats. The hope was to do meat goats. Unfortunately, we got a couple bottle babies, and they're not going to be meat goats. And we may get a buck or a stud in here, and have some kids in the spring or a little bit later. But again, I don't think they will be meat goats. I think they will probably just sell them, and perhaps move into more of a dairy goat. But it has been a good test run. The first goat, we were supposed to get a pair, and the buck died when he was young, so we only got one. And there was a 4 or 5 day span where we only had one goat. A lot of people tell you you can't have one goat. They're herd animals, and if you have one goat, they get depressed and they will die. We had one goat, and it was neurotic, man. The goat was crazy. It was like all over the place. You couldn't pet it. You couldn't get near it. You get 10 feet from the thing, and it would take off. So we got bottle babies a couple days after that. Goats calmed down, and she's like the mama goat now. If you take the babies away, or take one of the bottle babies away to weigh it or to work it or something, she freaks out, and she just bleats and baas and makes all sorts of really loud goat noises. And if the police were driving by, they'd probably think that I was murdering a small child. Those are the noises that they make. So we've done that. There was a little bit of, I think it was coccidiosis, because I gave them some sulfamed, and that cleared up the diarrhea and the clumpy poop that they're not supposed to have. The second time around that happened, and I gave them some sulfamed again, and it didn't seem to fix anything. And so I asked around and did a little more research, and figured out that I'm something of a moron, and that the sulfamed is not actually a dewormer, and that coccidiosis is protozoa, I believe, and so it's treated differently than worms. Thankfully, I did have some wormer on hand and was able to get that into the goats after the sulfamed. So we still have 3 goats, but it's a learning experience, and if I'd much rather learn on an animal that cost $75 than, a good milk animal that cost anywhere from $200 to $300. It's one of those things. So with our goats, of course, we're dog people, and we got a couple of Great Pyrenees puppies. Should we have done that? I don't know, but we did. They were on the cheap. The situation was such that the pregnant mother was removed from a hoarding situation of a man with dementia. Mom was malnourished, and dad had been hit by a car. The poor guy didn't even realize that he had the dogs. So puppies came from there. Like I said, they were on the cheap. And we've had they've been pretty good. We're going through some training things. They're good with the goats, but they're dogs, and you got to train them. So we're trying to do that. We got that on our plate. Got our chickens, of course. We started with some new birds this spring. After our 2 other dogs, we have lots of dogs. We have 2 little feist dogs, they call them down here. They're like squirrel hunting dogs. They're I don't know, some sort of mix between like Jack Russell Terriers and something else. I don't know. A better Southerner could tell you. I am not, so I apologize for that. But they're scrappy little dogs, and they will chase anything, and they catch all sorts of stuff. I mean, they're as good as a cat when it comes to catching rats around the house and catching mice around the house. They've caught squirrels, they've caught birds out of the air, that sort of thing. Anyway, they are also they like chase things, and so they basically annihilated our flock of chickens. So we had to start over. We started over this year, this spring, got some speckled Sussex, some buff rocks, and some partridge rocks. And as we speak right now, I have there's an old an old hen we have. We kept 2 from the old flock. There's an old hen sitting on some eggs, so hopefully we have some babies in the fall. I like them in the fall because they start laying in the spring, right when that sun comes up, and there isn't too much of a lag period, so it's pretty nice like that. I think that the purpose for them, we're going to throw the roosters in the freezer. We got that going on, and that's good. Chickens are fairly easy, but I think we're contemplating trying to do quail. Dressing chickens out can be a little bit messy. It can be a little bit of a task. It stinks, and down here in the South, butchering birds in the summer or in the fall it sucks, man. It's not a fun task at all. The fire ants are out, so any blood on the ground they come running for, and they're biting at your toes, and the flies are out, and it's just, you got to get the birds cooled off quick, and it's hard when it's 9 degrees outside. So we may go with quail. May do that. We'll see. We will see. And if you're thinking about going to do quail, check out the episode I did. I think it was episode 8, homesteadsandhomeschools.com/008. It was on quail, Sadie Girl Farm. So that's what we got going on out there. There's a couple of projects we're working on. I think we're going to try to set up a run for some pork, do a little bit of pigs, maybe in the spring or maybe even this fall. Not quite sure about that. Depends on what we can get done. And I'm going to be moving our woodshed, so I have to build a new woodshed. The thing is, with when you try to do a bunch of stuff on your own, and you try to do a bunch of stuff at home, all these little menial tasks that don't seem like a lot, they start to pile up. And I think that's the biggest struggle we're working with right now, is trying to stay abreast of everything, trying to get everything done. And when you have 4 kids and the youngest one is, only 3 and rambunctious, to say the least, he just turned 3, and he is just figuring out that, running out into the road is probably a bad idea, that trying to lock yourself in a hot car is a bad idea. He's finally figuring those things out, but it's fun. It's fun, right? Child, they're only little for so long, right? That's what I keep telling myself here. Anyway, so I think that's all we got going on out there. Hopefully we'll get some more fruit trees this fall. If not, had good luck in the spring. They grow, and it gets, I don't know if it's too hot. I don't know if it's our soil. We are on a fair bit of clay. We're right on the cusp of the fall line. So we have lots of clay, we have lots of sand, and not a lot of mix. So we have to do a fair bit of soil remediation where the garden is, and when it comes time to plant trees, fig trees, pear trees, blueberry bushes, peach trees, it's you really got to stay on top of them. You don't want them too wet at the same time. It's a doozy when they get too dry, and it gets hot and dry down here, so got to stay on top of that. I'm going to try to put in a couple more olive trees. We've lost a couple, and we're going to try a couple more. We're right on that cusp of weather where in the winter it can get too cold. I think if we can get them through the first couple of winters, they'll be big enough to survive. But getting them through can be a bit tricky. I think we've got to figure out where to put them. You really got to keep them out of the frost pockets, because the temperature is such that it will make a difference. 2 degrees where I am is going to make a difference between, whether the olive trees make it or not. We'll see. And who knows what we'll do with that. I think there's a couple olive oil co-ops around here, but the number of trees you have to have in your orchard is so big that we'll never meet that qualification. So probably just maybe press our own oil here and there, but we'll see. So on to the homeschooling front of things. we have 4 kids. The youngest one is 3, and he is in a private preschool for 4 hours a day, 2 days a week. And it's good for him. The youngest 2 were adopted, and it's good to have a little headspace sometimes, and to kind of give the older kids a little bit of freedom from a 3-year-old who demands 100% of your attention all the time. And he needs it, and it's good for him, but you can't always give it. So we are schooling the other 3 at home right now. And when we go to the preschool, it's far enough away from home that we don't have enough time to drive home and do school and then come back, and it just doesn't make sense. So we do school in the library, and it works. It works fairly well. The older 2 are old enough where they're pretty well self-directed. Our younger daughter, we're still working on, and that is one of our biggest struggles right now, is to kind of really get her to come along. Nothing has been diagnosed, and I don't know that we'll ever actually go that route and search out a formal diagnoses. But I've worked with ODD children before, oppositional defiant disorder, I think is how it goes. And she exhibits a lot of those behaviors, and so we can work with that at home. But when we're in the library, it can be challenging. It can be very challenging. And so learning to work with that is quite different. Our older 2 children, their behaviors were different, but they were similar. And so, our expectations have always been high for all of them. And our older 2 learn in more or less the same way. So, the second one came around, and it was easy to do. The third one does not learn the same way, and so we are trying to figure out how to make things work best for her, and that's where we're at. And keep wanting to hedge toward that unschooling side of things, but I don't know. It seems to me like a big plunge to take right now, and we're kind of, I don't want to say entrenched, but we've been doing something that works, and so why upset that apple cart? Why try something new if what you have is working? So we'll see with that. We'll see how that goes. Probably not, but we use the Moving Beyond the Page curriculum. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's an affiliate link, so if you click on it and you buy something from them, I'll get something from them. I'm working on trying to get someone from there on the show to talk about their curriculum. They introduced math recently, so it's pretty much a full curriculum. And you can tweak things and pull things out and add things, and that's what we've done. And of course, the other thing with the homeschooling that we're struggling with now, that we're trying to juggle right now, is juggling 3 kids. The older 2 are more or less self-directed, but you still have to check in and make sure and talk to them, and you don't just give them a book and say, go read this, and expect that they're gonna get everything out of it. They may not, and it's nice to be able to have those conversations with your children and to discuss some of that stuff. And it's tough to do when your time is consumed in other ways, working with other children that don't allow you that sort of break in time, or finding enough time in the day to get it all done. And we'll get there. And I think it more or less boils down to us and how we present things and how we work things. That's how we'll figure it out. And I no doubt we will figure it out, but may take a minute. When you do all of this stuff, when you try to concentrate everything at home, and you have outdoor tasks and you have indoor tasks, it can be hard to fit everything in. you still want your kids to be able to socialize, to get out and do those things. And so, where church is something we do on Sundays, and Sunday nights the kids are involved with drama club and the little kids choir, so we got that going on. Wednesday nights is another thing they do, and then they have soccer practice, or they have another sport, or they go horseback riding, or whatever it is. And you hate to take some of those things away because they enjoy it, because it's good for them, because they're learning other things. But at the same time, some of those things end up taking time away when you should be getting other tasks done at home. And so trying to juggle that has been a struggle that we've come across in the last little bit here. And really trying to figure out and weigh what is important and where to go, and how to really thresh out what we need to be doing and what we could be doing and what we don't need to do. So, I think that's all for today. If you have any questions you want me to answer for next Thursday, go ahead and email them to me, homesteadsandhomeschools@gmail.com. You can join the Facebook group, the Homestead at Homeschool Forum, and hit me up in there, or whatever other way you see fit. If you want me to carry on with this next Thursday or following Thursdays, or you want to hear, you can support the show by leaving a review on iTunes. Go leave a 4 or 5 star review. That would be nice. I guess you can leave 1 or 2 or 3, but whatever. You can leave a review too, or you write some words. I guess that helps in the algorithms. You can click through our Amazon affiliate to give me a little kickback there. And of course, you can always go to patreon.com/thelibertyhippie and pick yourself up some bonus content, some bonus materials there. Help out there, and eventually may be able to pay for some more bandwidth, and I can do this more frequently. We'll see, because of course this takes time when I might be better off splitting wood. Of course, I'm not going to be out there splitting wood when it's 100 degrees out, because that's just stupid, but you get the idea. Anyway, folks, I appreciate you coming out on Thursday and taking the 20 minutes out of your day to listen to this. So get out there, sow those seeds of liberty, and all reap sheaves of freedom together.
Dream.